The Delta SkyMiles American Express card is one of our favorite airline cards for military service members, and it's the best one for Delta, I think. With lounge access and a round-trip first-class companion pass and a waived annual fee for military members and their spouse, anyone who flies Delta once a year or more should be looking at the Delta Reserve Card.
Welcome to the Military Money Manual Podcast, where every episode is all about achieving financial independence in the military faster than before. We believe personal finance shouldn't be boring or intimidating. Building wealth can be simple, and financial freedom is the ultimate financial goal. Now, here's your hosts, Spencer and Jamie.
Hey, listener, welcome to another episode of the Military Money Manual Podcast. Spencer Reese here from militarymoneymanual.com, joined in person by my co-host, Jamie. Hey, Jamie.
Hey, Spencer.
In this next 4-part series, we're going to be going over the best airline credit cards for military service members. And we're going to be looking at the big 4 U.S. airlines of American Airlines, Delta, Southwest, and United Airlines. Military service members and military spouses have a unique benefit on credit cards. For most of the airline credit cards we're going to talk about, and in fact, most credit cards, your annual fees on the cards are waived down to $0. So if you are active duty, if you're a guard in reserve on 30-plus day active orders, or if you're a military spouse married to any of the previous people I listed, and you're properly listed in the Military Lending Act or MLA database, then you're going to get your annual fees waived on your Citi cards, your Chase cards, and your American Express cards. So that's a fantastic military benefit, and it allows you to access some of the benefits we're going to be talking about today with airline credit cards like companion passes, miles, upgraded seats, lounge access, and you can access all these benefits through these credit cards, and you don't have to pay any annual fees unlike everybody else. So fantastic military benefit that not a lot of people talk about. So Jamie, which airline are we addressing on this inaugural first episode?
So we're going to start with Delta, which has a very powerful series of cards through American Express. They have 4 levels. But before we get into specifics, remember that all of the benefits and the offers we're talking about on this episode are current as of the time of the recording. So to make sure you get the most current offer and terms and conditions, check out the militarymoneymanual.com for the latest.
And for example, Delta just updated their policies on lounge access, and they put some really big changes into their SkyMiles program, which after a lot of people were very upset about it, they're now going to retract and
some of it.
Yeah, some of the changes and have even more changes. So anything we talk about today, make sure you go and Google, do your own research, and make sure that it's current as of this recording, but it might not be current in the future.
Yeah. So Delta has 4 levels. All of these cards are with American Express, which, like you said, Spencer, waives the annual fee for military service members and their spouses under the Military Lending Act. So all of these are free to you. From the top tier to the lowest tier, it goes the Delta Reserve, the Platinum, Gold, and Blue levels. So Spencer, let's start off by talking about the Delta Reserve card, the top tier card that they offer from their co-branded partnership.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're going to get one Delta card, you're in the military or your military spouse eligible for Military Lending Act benefits, it should be the Delta Reserve card from American Express. It has a $550 annual fee, which, like we talked about, is fully waived if you're covered by the MLA. You can go listen to episode 19, and we covered Military Lending Act benefits in depth on that episode of the podcast. On the Delta Reserve card, you're typically going to see a Delta SkyMiles bonus offer of somewhere between 50,000 all the way up to maybe 100 or 120,000 SkyMiles after you meet the minimum spend. Typically, you'll have 4, maybe 6 months to meet the minimum spend. At the time of this recording, we're looking at 60,000 Delta SkyMiles after spending $5,000 in the first 6 months. I don't think that's a great offer. I think if you are listening to this episode and that's kind of the current offer, just wait a little bit. Delta tends to do limited time offers every 3 to 6 months or so. And they do a lot of targeted mailing offers too. So if you get an offer in the mail, just Google real quick, like, hey, is this a good offer?
Yeah.
And remember that SkyMiles never expire, but that doesn't make them any more valuable, right? It's not like you can't invest your SkyMiles and get a rate of return on them. SkyMiles are definitely one of those points currencies that you want to earn and then burn. You want to use them quickly because Delta has a history of devaluing the program and making your SkyMiles worth less and less. In fact, going all the way back to 2010, when I first dove into the SkyMiles program, I encountered the term Sky Pesos that some people in the travel hacking community use because SkyMiles are so worthless.
Yeah. We'll talk more in a few minutes about why earning SkyMiles might not be the best primary goal for your travel hacking game. It is nice to know that they never expire, so you don't have to feel the pressure to fly again with them. But one of my favorite benefits is the Sky Club lounge access that comes with it. So right now, pending changes, you have, as a card member, you get into the Delta Sky Club lounge. You also get access as an American Express Platinum card holder flying on a Delta flight that day. It sounds like they're going to limit it to a certain number of visits per year, but they're still refining exactly what those changes are, like you said. But complimentary access to the lounge when you're flying Delta, as well as complimentary access to the American Express Centurion Lounge when you're flying Delta through this card.
Yeah. And then I think the best benefit of this card, if you're a serious Delta flyer, is the annual round trip companion pass. So after your first card anniversary year, so after you've had the card for 1 year, you can go first class, Delta Comfort, or domestic main cabin. And it's basically a buy one, get one offer. So you pay the taxes, mandatory fees, which is usually about 10,
11
15,
bucks, something.
$20, whatever it is. And you can get a round trip ticket only in the lower 48 states, unless your SkyMiles profile address is Hawaii or Alaska. So if you're stationed in Hawaii or Alaska in the military, this can be an excellent way to use that round trip companion pass and get you and your partner, you and your spouse, you and a kid, you and whoever you designate as your companion back to your home state or just on a vacation on Delta.
Yeah, we talked on the episode where I took my son to Orlando and we talked about the travel hacking of that a few weeks ago. We used our companion pass on that trip and saved $360, I think, dollars was the fare. It's not a huge savings, but it's free money with the buy one, get one. One other thing I'll note on redeeming SkyMiles award flights with Delta is when you have this card, you'll get a 15% discount basically on your redemption cost on award travel. So if you're going to use SkyMiles redemption through Delta, which may or may not be the best option for you, we'll talk more about that in a second, then you get a little bit of a discount just from being a card holder on that redemption.
Yeah, the card also has global entry or TSA PreCheck credit. So you can sign up for either of those programs and then get reimbursed. Military service members are probably better served signing up for global entry because it comes with TSA PreCheck and you already get free TSA PreCheck. And same thing for military spouses as well. And it's a program that's good for 5 years. And you can just use the credit again in 5 years. We talked in detail about global entry and TSA PreCheck in episode 85. Both great programs. I used it recently, and it probably saved me at least 45 minutes, if not an hour, of going through U.S. Customs in Dublin.
Just a quick note from one of our sponsors, and we'll be right back to the show. Hey, Spencer, I've heard about this free Amex Platinum card for military service members. Where can I go to learn more about this?
Great question, Jamie. I've got the Ultimate Military Credit Cards course at militarymoneymanual.com/UMC3. It's a 100% free email-based course, and I explain exactly how to verify your eligibility for credit card annual fee waivers with the Military Lending Act, or MLA, and the Service Members Civil Relief Act, or SCRA. The Ultimate Military Credit Cards course is a beginner's guide to travel hacking and opening up your first annual fee-waived credit card while you or your spouse serves in the U.S. military. There's no spam, no fluff, and the only emails you'll get from me are related to military credit cards. You can unsubscribe at any time, and there's zero cost to you to sign up. You can sign up right now for free at militarymoneymanual.com/UMC3. Again, militarymoneymanual.com/Uniform Mike Charlie 3.
And now back to the show. So a lot of times when people see cards that offer free check bags, they kind of scoff at it like, oh, no big deal. I don't really need that. A lot of times, unless you're traveling on orders, your spouse or your children are not going to be covered by a waived baggage policy, or you as a service member might have only 2 bags for free if you're on leisure travel. So a card like this that comes with free check bags, you can help out with your kid or your spouse that doesn't get the military benefit like you do unless you're traveling on orders together.
Yeah, and like most American Express cards, you're not going to pay foreign transaction fees when you use this card outside the United States. But also, like most American Express cards, you're going to get much less acceptance, especially in Europe, Africa, Asia, than you would with a Visa or MasterCard. Another thing I'll note, Jamie, is that there are other tiers of Delta cards. So there's a Delta Platinum card from American Express, a Delta Gold card, and a Delta Blue card. The Blue card is no annual fee. So if you have a Delta Reserve card, you leave active duty, and you want to downgrade your card and not pay an annual fee, you can downgrade it to a Delta Blue card. None of these other cards really have any great benefits. The Platinum card does have a domestic main cabin round trip companion certificate, but the real trick is upgrading these cards to more reserve cards and unlocking more companion passes. Again, if you're a frequent Delta flyer, maybe you're Atlanta based or near Atlanta or near a Delta hub, then you could really get a lot of value out of this card. I would tend to go to other American Express cards like the Hilton card, the Marriott card, and I think you can get a lot more value out of those hotel cards than Delta Amex airline cards.
Yeah, one of the reasons this isn't our top overall recommended card, although it has some decent benefits, is one, you don't really earn much. You get 3 SkyMiles per dollar spent on Delta purchases and then only 1 SkyMile on everything else. You can always earn Amex or Chase points on a better earning card, like the American Express Gold for dining and eating out and groceries, or the American Express Platinum for travel purchases, and then transfer your points to Delta if you were to redeem through Delta. You can also redeem through travel partners. So earning SkyMiles, one, we already mentioned they're not very valuable, and two, this card is not going to earn you a lot of points anyway. So you're better off getting an American Express or Chase card that's going to earn you American Express membership reward points or ultimate reward points, because you will have more flexible points that are worth more compared to just earning a bunch of SkyMiles that you can only use with Delta.
Yeah, I find that Delta SkyMiles redemptions are usually not a great value. I'm almost never transferring American Express points to Delta to make a booking. And in fact, I've had, I don't know, a couple, maybe 100,000 Delta points, SkyMiles locked up in my, not locked up, but sitting in my Delta account. And I just can't find a redemption to use them on. And you'll find, especially for like the business class or like the Delta One fares, sometimes you'll be like 600,000 SkyMiles.
Yeah.
Like that is insane, like, and they've really devalued the program. I just Googled, I think the Points Guy and a couple other sites value Delta SkyMiles at 1 cent per point. I think
0.7 is probably more.
I think that's very generous.
Yeah.
I think it's probably like a 0.7, maybe even a 0.5. I think the Delta SkyMiles are not, they're certainly not flexibles. And unless you have like a very specific redemption that you're going for on Delta, I would tend to skip these cards for earning SkyMiles, but you might want to look at the Delta Reserve card for the Companion Pass.
Yeah. One other downside I want to mention is that with the Companion Pass, it does not cover Delta One. So like the lie flat kind of first class ticket, it does not cover the buy one, get one fare for that, only traditional first class. And also, in my experience, when I've tried to book a Companion Pass, the search tool is very restrictive on what it actually allows you to book once you say that you want to use a Companion Pass. It's convenient that you can do it online, but you're going to look at the flight and you're going to want this 9 a.m. flight, and then you go to add your Companion Pass, and then it'll say, oh, sorry, that's only available if you book the 5:30 a.m. flight. Or it'll say there's no options available out of that airport when you know they have 9 flights out of that airport with space that day, but it won't let you use it a lot of times with a Companion Pass.
Yeah, that can be really frustrating. And it's one of the reasons that I don't really rate this card that highly, the Delta Reserve card. I would say it's a pretty low tier priority card. I usually recommend people work through a lot more cards before they go to this card. It does have that brand name, right? Like a lot of people are like, oh, Delta, I've flown Delta before.
Or I like Delta.
Yeah, or I like Delta. And it's like, have you flown anybody else? Because so I just don't find a lot of value out of this card, and I don't recommend it to people. I think it should be a low priority card. There's much higher value cards, Chase Sapphire Reserve, Chase Freedom, even obviously the American Express Platinum card, the American Express Gold card that I would go after before I would go after a Delta Reserve card.
A lot of times people just ask, they'll send us a question, either podcast at militarymoneymanual.com or via DM on Instagram at Military Money Manual, and they'll talk about airline credit cards and which one's the best. And it's almost like really none of them. What other cards do you have? Let's talk about the other ones that you just said. But if you're really dead set on getting an airline card and you're really dead set on it being Delta, then this is probably one to consider. But we would recommend that you look at other ones before you start playing the airline card game, unless you just really, really like Delta for some reason.
Yeah, you can get a lot more value out of, let's say, a Chase Sapphire Reserve paired with a Chase Freedom card. Throw a Chase Ink card in there, and then you have complete flexibility. You can just book through the Chase travel portal at 1.5 cents each. You're still not paying annual fees. You get the $300 annual travel credit. I mean, if you're looking at getting a credit card and you're thinking the Delta Reserve card, but you don't have a Chase Sapphire Reserve yet, just stop the episode and go get a Chase Sapphire Reserve.
I will say my wife and I each have 2 of these cards. So there is value to us there. It's just not at the top of our priority list of which ones we got first. So we have, each year we get 4 Companion Passes between us. Now we haven't really been able to use them every year, so they're kind of going to waste. But it's part of our strategy overall, but not a cornerstone, bedrock, start off here kind of card.
All right, Jamie, that covers the Delta SkyMiles Reserve American Express card in the first part of our series on the best airline credit cards for military service members. The next episode, we'll be talking about the United card, the United Airlines credit cards, American Airlines credit cards, and Southwest credit cards. So stay tuned for those episodes. We'll catch you in the next episode of the Military Money Manual podcast.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Military Money Manual podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. This helps others find the show, and we really appreciate it. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
The views and opinions presented here are those of the speakers and do not necessarily represent the views of the DoD or its components. Reference to any commercial products or services does not constitute DoD endorsement of those products or services.